basically all over the world, from South Africa to Canada to everywhere. We know how effective it was by what comes to us. We know how it's working by the reports that we get. They don't write a report and say, but they act out what they're told to do. Once you gain so much experience, so much history, you know how to read the messages. They don't know they're sending you a message, but they're sending you a message. Why? Because you know how to read their mail. Yeah, you know how to read their message. You could tell what the orders are. You could tell everything is too clear. Okay. All of us remember this right here. Protracted struggle, number one. Destabilizing, number two. Temporary transformation, number three. Organizing unity of opposition, semi-consolidation. Step four, regional vision. Number five, victory. Okay. This article appeared in 16 newspapers around the country. This about July 2009. American Shiites reach crossroads. This is a report on the program that happened up in Dearborn, Michigan. It was up there a few years. But they have my picture here. They had As soon as this appeared, the brothers in the Muslim Congress start acting funny. Because as soon as this appeared, people who are collaborating with the system inside, right, went to the ulama and the other guys, so much so that last time we went right over there in downtown, wherever that was, right? There was not one Sunni there, right? That was the Iranian program. This one was mostly Indo-Pakistanis and all of that. But they all the same, one controls the other, and you know what I mean. It ain't no big deal. But American Shiites reached the crossroads, then they have me here. So that gives them the ability to go to the board and say, they got these Sunnis, like, in other words, the white man know what he's doing. He put me here, and they know I'm not a Shia, right? They got to, and they already got it set up. They making the people think that those people are representing us, but they don't. And pretty soon the brothers who are friends of mine start acting funny. They start acting funny. It's not a fault of their own. They're not as deep as we are. You can't expect them. The people act on a level that they acquire. You see what I mean? The people act on a level they acquire. That's all. The people here, do you notice that the more you're active, the more you say, oh, that's actually, and it happens almost every day if you're around here, right?
Yeah.
It happens almost every day. I heard it, but I didn't think it was real. But around here, your eyes be busting open all day, every day. That's actually real. That happens, right? And then sometimes, you believe it or not, to me, it's not old, but it's normal. And then imagine after a while, you get the game on how to manipulate. The first thing Von Klaus would say, do not attack your enemy the same way over and over. He'll adjust to your pattern, right? He'll adjust to your warfare, right? They come at me over and over again, almost the same way, but it's actually a multiplicity of ways, but it's happened so long, you can forecast, you can predict, you can anticipate what they're going to do. Why? longevity. Longevity is wonderful in movement because you get a chance to recognize the value of certain things. How long does it take to learn how to ride a bicycle? How long does it take to fly an airplane? How long does it take to defend yourself from the enemy, the government, as far as movement is concerned, right? Okay, you learn how to defend yourself. In martial arts, they got black belt, then they got 1 dan, 5 dan, some say they go up to 10, right? So once you get the game, you still got evolution in there. You're getting higher and higher all the time. You see what I mean? Okay, so the people act on what they've been exposed to. That's all they can do. They can't do any more than that because they don't understand that. In what we're doing, we had to postpone a lot of things. First, strategic management took a while. Then the people get a chance to see it and understand it. And whether they like it or not, it works. So you can say what you want. Because it's happened 100 times over. And you can flip a coin and say, I'm going to do this, that. And then they look at it, that's what happens. Why? Because you studied that. Okay, but now, the dilemma now is this science fiction management. It's time for it. But we have to do it in a way to where we maintain credibility. In other words, we have to move the people up step by step. You can't, I don't care how much you love them and want to save them, you can't run them up the hill. You got to start them out walking up the hill. And then set them down and give them a little rest. Because they're going uphill. All this is uphill, right? You got to let them rest a little bit. Then, okay, buddies, let's go and walk them a few more 100 yards and take a rest, right? And if you do it right, pretty soon they'll be up so high, they'll be able to see the landscape. The higher you go, the higher the landscape, the higher things will be. And everything becomes exposed. The valleys, the rivers, the lakes, all of that become exposed because you've taken them up gradually, you've taken them up systematically. It's just like going to school. You go to grade 1, then you go to grade 5 later on, then you go on up. Pretty soon you got a PhD. Suppose in the first grade you showed the kid all the books they was going to have to read before they get out of school. They'd faint. They'd pass out, right? They would pass out. They'd finish. I got to read them, and it's all in the language of the books. Parapsychology, da-da-da-da-da. They don't even know what it is, right? Not in the first grade. They don't know what it is. So this is the thing about education. This is part of our dilemma. Although we're in an emergency situation, we have to have, I would call it accelerated learning. If you believe it or not, the CIA, boy, they good at teaching people accelerated learning. They teach them dialects of Arabic. You see, they teach them everything, and they know this is a Syrian dialect, that's a Saudi dialect, and they know it. And they got a teaching method where they can teach. You know, you said, man, this guy must have been speaking Arabic all his life. They got an accelerated learning thing. They got a course where you could, all of a sudden, you go to regular Arabic. I went to different Arabic studies, and we had one course that was accelerated learning, a 3-month course, a summer course, in 87 down at ISNA. It was a good course, but you just run right through it, lesson. And you got an overall good view of Arabic. Shoot, when I got back to California, I just went right down and started going to UC Berkeley, the Arabic classes, because it was fast. And I got a good overview and all of that. But I had to go take a slow course, you know what I mean, what they call it, where you monitor classes. And the teacher was a friend of mine, so I just monitored classes and took it slow. And then if you stay off for 2 weeks, you done forgot all of it. Man, how I forget all of that, But that's what you do. But still you have an overall view. And, okay, now, science fiction management and simulation. We talked the other day about, by the way, I'm going to do this again. When the brother called, I'm going to do this right now. Again, the one that I'm supposed to be doing for them. Simulation. Simulation is when we come under constant, not attack, but approached by the government. And then they lay off. Like we said they did over here, they put a car out here, they do that. So they want you to focus on that. All the stuff they do in Oakland, that's a diversion. All the arrests, all the harassment. Look at the people. Why do they do what they do? Why do they say the stuff they say? It's insanity, right? It don't make no sense. Your father sold you into slavery, and I'm the only one in the family got the tapes of the family history, and you could tell this. And all the family knows that. Here's an idiot, not an idiot. They are kind of idiots, yes, they are. They are idiots, but they've been misled. Okay, but we told those idiots, just like Joseph told him, the shaitan got between you and made you do that. May Allah forgive you. I definitely overlook it. La tatraba. That's one of our flyers from way back. La tatraba. No reproach. Don't worry about it. The things that they say and do is ridiculous, right? Why? They want to get our mind and get us and keep us in Oakland, fighting over that masjid, right? We consider the masjid in Oakland and all of that property is revolutionary property, and it's a base area. And if you're fighting a revolutionary struggle, or let's call it an evolutionary struggle, sometimes you abandon base areas, right? If you got a big army focused on your base area, you don't stay there and fight it out with a big super army, right? You abandon it because your style is guerrilla warfare, right? If you're fighting guerrilla warfare, psychological guerrilla warfare, think about it. Would you let them imprison your psychic in Oakland? Lock you up in Oakland? Prevent you from all of this? Right? Where your mind is there getting back property, or they sell property. You get all of that back when it's time. Right? You don't have to waste your time. I'm telling you, but they don't understand, so I don't care whether they understand or not. Oakland's a base area. You think I'm going to sit up worrying about Oakland while the whole world is under attack? Think if we was in Oakland, right? We wouldn't be getting out to the people. We wouldn't be monitoring what have you. We see what they're doing in Oakland. But they're doing the same thing in Oakland they've always done. mislead the people, misguide the people, misdirect the people, and if they go out to have a demonstration, they go out and get the people flash bombed and everything else by arguing with the police, throwing and breaking windows, right? And the people, by the time they get the people settled down, they done already caused all the trouble. Psychological guerrilla warfare worked. It's worked for us. Okay. I read this and I read other things because I want people to understand that there are certain special things going on. This might have been 2011. Protracted struggle, destabilization, right? Temporary gains. We all know we didn't went over it 1,000 times. But eventually, right, it's going to lead to semi-unity, consolidation of action. And all of that happened. Strategic alliance. Iran, Iraq, Syria, strategic alliance. And Russia. On the peripheral is China. And all of that. Now let's get down to the mistakes and what they intended to do. This production was set in motion because of some global events. One of the main global events was not only the Middle East, but China and other, okay. Let's take China first. If you notice, after a few years ago, when China came out at the 20th Congress, whatever it was, and they laid out what they was going to do, you know. Now, this thing about Chinese characteristics and all of that, it's not new. It's been happening a long time. It's been in the literature a long time. But when you heard it, sometime you felt like you was hearing it for the first time. Well, some people wasn't hearing it for the first time. Socialism with Chinese characteristics. We liked it because Islamic movement with Negro characteristics, with colored characteristics. When you look at it, it don't look like socialism. It looked like capitalism, modified capitalism. But when you look at it closely, you say, wait a minute. In 40 years, Chinamen ran a big game on the U.S. Nixon went to China. Oh, we just love y'all. Sure you love us. You mean after Korea and all of that? We come in and kill all of you Americans, right? So you love us now? Well, we love you too, right? Pretty soon, all the factories in the U.S. closed down, and they wrote books on it. Deindustrialization, all in the 80s of America. So all the companies closed down here and they went to China. When they went to China, China's production, they was just on their little road. And China started picking up. And China bust on the scene. And when America looked at it, they went into a panic. First, they realized that Chinese had demanded transfer of technology. Usually with the countries, they don't give transfer. They'll have you produce the stuff, but you're not going to get the technology. There's no transfer of technology. When I was in South America, they had all kind of American cars. They call it assemble. They would assemble Chevys down there. They'd send all the parts from here, and they would assemble them down there, just like a erector set or something. But they wouldn't make them from Jump Street, where you have the technology to produce a Chevy from the ground up. right? You gotta go get the rubber. You gotta forge the plastic. You gotta have all the machinery. But if you just assemble the parts that they made here, right? You don't have the technology. The Chinese said, no, you gotta give us the technology. So they gave the Chinese the technology. I mean, it's all kind of stuff. See? All of a sudden they look up and they said, these Chinamen is bigger than us. Technically they are. They're bigger than us, right? So, that's a few years ago, now they mad. They look at the Middle East. Who hated what was going on in the Middle East? Obama, as slow as he was, right, and those Democrats was making peace with Iran. And you could read the newspaper every day, right? Netanyahu and Saudi Arabia was having fits, right? You can't do that. And when you ain't never heard of an Israeli coming over here and going before the Congress and insulting the President of the United States. Just insulting him. Yeah. Okay. So now American policy is hitting big skids. Now they done stole the election in 2000, hanging chads and all that. So they know how to, you know that the elections don't mean nothing because they can steal whichever election they want. So, okay, here's what we gotta do. We gotta put somebody in there that is arrogant enough and stupid enough to do exactly what we tell them. Right? And it's only going to cost you a few $1 billion. And he would love to be president. He likes acting, just like he liked acting in, You're Fired. He liked that. And he's trained to do that. Right? He's trained. Like Ronald Reagan, they say he was a good president. You know that fool, all he was doing? He was acting the part of a president. He was a B actor in the old days. You ever see any of the old Ronald Reagan? Oh, Ronald Reagan was a B actor. But a B actor, he's trained in acting. So he act like, there's a script. You're the president of the United States. These are the Russians, and they're bad. You act like they're bad, then you're good.